today we're going to be looking at a mermaid tail. Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel Kazzalistic, and hi to my new subscribers, thank you very much for joining me. So today, as you were seeing from the introduction, we are looking at a mermaid tail. So I'll just give you a quick proper look. So this is the front side. So it starts off with a straight edge, and then you do sort of a scallop or fan stitch basically all the way through. The pattern I've used does call for colour changing on every row. Of course you don't have to. If you do choose to do that, I would recommend that you tie your ends in as you go, otherwise you will have a phenomenal amount of ends at the end. So I was very glad that I did do it as I went along. So that's the tail part. And then the other side, basically it's open at the back. So as you can see, it's open at the back, so obviously you can wrap it round you. And then it's actually joined here, so you can pop your feet in at the bottom. So I'm sure most of you have come across mermaid tails anyway, but basically there's lots of variations on the theme of these kind of blankets where you can pop your feet in and keep your lower half of your body warm. So obviously this one you designed to look like a mermaid. There are some where they're basically a shark, so it looks like your lower half has been swallowed by a shark. I have even seen some that look like pizza slices. So there's lots of variations basically on the theme. Obviously every pattern will be slightly different because obviously a shark is a completely different shape to a mermaid. But I thought I'd do a mermaid tail. Yeah, I fancy doing one, and I thought, well, because it's a blanket, I could still donate it to Woolly Hugs, and it'll be kind of cool for a little girl or a little boy. I'm probably a little girl, let's face it, but you never know. So I've used 5 colour repeat. So I've started with the yellow, then done blue, emerald green, teal, and then pale green, and then basically just repeated that down. Okay, so I'm going to go through the yarns that I've used, and then we'll talk about the pattern and what I've done very slightly differently, not very much. So I've used, now most of these I've used one ball. I have used some part cakes as well that I already had, so I was trying to use some scraps up and then had to break into other balls. So I've actually used 1.5 balls of the yellow, which is P-Tech. I don't actually have a colour shade number. It is 100% acrylic. It's produced in Turkey. Calls for a 4mm hook, and that's pretty much all it tells you. Oh, and it's 300 meters long per ball. The 100-gram balls, as you will see, this was donated by Jan. I've actually written Jan's name on so I'd remember, but as you can see there's no colour code, so I don't know what colour code it was, unfortunately. Sorry about that. But it's P-Tech. You can pick these up fairly easily. So I've used the whole ball, and then I've got this cake left over for the yellow. So I've basically got this and two yellow balls left, Jan, so I'm slowly getting through it. Then I've used, to get the right one, for the emerald green I've used Mariner Double Knit. This is out of my own stash, and it's the shade 091, and it's called Emerald. There we go. So I've used a small cake, and I've broken into a second one. That's what I've got left. So you probably would only need 1 ball of that. The teal colour, again, is Mariner Double Knit, and it's shade 071, and it's called Sea Green. And Mariners unfortunately, they don't tell you how much yardage is on them, which is very annoying. So all this stuff is all 100% acrylic. I've also used one that Carol very kindly sent me. So this is very much a team effort this time. And it's New Fashion Double Knitting by Woolcraft. It's 100% acrylic, 300 metre balls. and the shade was 240. So that's the blue. Now I used, so this was a cake that I had. I kind of got a bit muddled with my balls and what I was doing, so I've used most of the cake that this was about that size originally, so I've used some of that and then broken into 100-gram balls. So again, I would reckon it's probably about 1 ball for the blue. And then I had a cake that was made up, which was basically scraps, was about this sort of size, and it was the same as this ball here, which is by Woolcraft. It's called Baby Care DK. You'd have seen this a few times with me now. And the shade is 606, and again it's the 300 metre ball. So I think if you have 1 ball that's 300 metres of each, whatever colours you choose, that should be just about enough. And I mean, I did run out, so there's a shade there. So it's pale green. So I haven't actually broken into this ball, but this was very kindly donated by Kim, who is Blue Cherub 82 here on YouTube. I will link everyone's channels. Carol has an Instagram account, so I will link her Instagram, and Jan and Kim's channels I'll obviously link down below. I'm just trying to find my hook to remind me what hook size I had somewhere. It's never where you look for it, is it? So I used a 6mm hook. That's probably not going to focus. Oh, yeah, it has. There we go. So that's all the materials that I've used. Now the pattern, I apologise because this really hasn't printed very well. I think the printer had a bit of an epi fit. But it's designed by Nadia Food. I don't know how to, my pronunciation is terrible. I'm sure somebody will correct me there. And it's called the Mermaid Afghan. I think that now there is a tutorial that goes along with this, so I will link that down in the description if you're looking for a tutorial. But she's basically the lady that does all the Yarntopia stuff. So, but if you look for Mermaid Afghan, it should come up. But yeah, I will link the pattern down in the description. So, her pattern is actually worked in worsted weight yarn, which is like our Aran weight here in the UK. I don't really have a lot of Aran stuff. Most of the stuff I have and that I've been sent is usually DK. So I've had to adjust the pattern just to allow for the fact that the yarn isn't quite as thick, and obviously therefore I've had to add a few rows in, so I'll go into that in a second. Now the pattern comes in 3 sizes. There is a small size which will fit a child that is 4 to 5 feet, a medium size that will fit anybody that is 5 to 6 feet tall, and large which will fit anybody over 6 feet. So it does cover pretty much everybody. I've actually done the small size. It's just the number of rows you do that really is the difference. Pretty much it's pretty much all the same for all the sizes, only very subtle differences. So the material she used was Red Heart Super Saver, which is a medium worsted weight, so I know it's a number 4. I see, I know these things. I'm learning about American yarn. So for the small size she used 2 skeins in one colour, 1 skein in another colour, another skein in another colour, and that was for the small size. So it's 2, 3, 4, roughly 4 skeins of Red Heart. Obviously Red Heart usually comes in bigger grams than we get here in the UK, so if you are in the UK that is something you'll need to be aware of. The pattern is written in US terminology. The things you'll need to know are obviously how to chain, how to do a slip stitch, how to do a US double crochet, which is a UK treble, how to do a US single crochet, which is a UK double, and how to single crochet 2 together, or that's in US terms, or double crochet 2 together if you're in the UK. So that's basically all the stitches you know. So if you can do that, you can make this. Okay, so you start off with the chain. She does give you the maths for it, so if you needed, you know, if you are, as Jen will put it, a more fluffy lady or gentleman, if you need it a lot wider than the pattern suggests, you can actually do the maths to work it out, and the pattern will still work. It is a repeating pattern. It's lovely and simple. I have to say, this is a really nice one to sit and do in front of the TV. It's only really when you're doing the decreases right at the bottom of the tail and joining it together that you actually have to really concentrate. The rest of it pretty much is, you could sit, I did sit and watch films and TV and stuff. So yeah, so basically you start with the chain, and then you're basically, the first row you are doing US double crochets or UK trebles. Start with third chain from the hook and you just work across. So it's a nice simple row. So this is the one I've done in yellow, so it's a nice simple straight double crochet in US terms row. The second row, which is where you're setting up the scallop or shell patterns. I'm going to refer to them as shells, I just find that easier. So basically you're skipping your first double crochet, sorry, you single crochet into the first double crochet, then you skip 2 stitches, and then you do 5 double crochet into the next stitch, you skip 2, and you basically, and then single crochet the next one and repeat that. That's your setup row, and what that creates is this effect here. So as you can see, if I put my fingers through, there's skipped stitches there, and you basically do that all the way along till you get to the end, and then basically it's a repeating pattern. So rows 3 and 4 basically are the setup rows, where your repeating pattern starts and then you just repeat it. So one row will basically start where you'll have a chain 3, you'll do 2 double crochets into the same stitch, you'll single crochet into, you skip 2 stitches, which is that gap there, single crochet into that stitch, skip 2 stitches, and then do 5 double crochets into that stitch, and then basically repeat that across, and that's all the way along till you get to the other side, where you will finish with 3 double crochets in the last stitch. Then for the next colour and the 4th round, you will do a chain 1, and you will single crochet into that very first stitch. This is US terminology. You will skip 2 stitches, and then you will do 5 double crochets into the next stitch, skip 2 stitches, so again there's skip stitch there, and then single crochet into the 3rd stitch of the cluster of 5, and you repeat that, and that's basically what you do all the way across till you get to the other side. And then for that side you will end with 5 double crochet, and you just single crochet in the last stitch. And that is basically the whole of the pattern. So basically you're not working in the round, you are working backwards and forwards across the rows. Okay, so the pattern for the small size calls for basically 50 rows in total. That's including your first 4 row setup. Now what I've done, which is a little bit different, because I've done it in double knit weight, which obviously isn't as thick as worsted weight yarn, I did 60 rows in total, so I did an extra 10 rows, which was 28 repeats of rows 3 and 4, and then I did 1 additional row 3, so in total I did 61 rows in total instead of 50. That's the only difference. So I've basically done 11 extra rows, and then what you do, I'm not going to go into the decrease too much because every row was very slightly different, and this would end up being a hideously long video trying to explain it all. But basically when you get down to here, you join the stitches, and you basically start this end bit from here to here. You are working in the round, and basically what you start doing is pulling shells together so they're touching each other like that. Now some rows are more decreases than others. There's a couple of rows that are pretty much just the straight pattern as you'd had before, you're just working in the round. and I've just by pure fluke, although I started at this end with a yellow and I happened to finish on a yellow, so this is where you stitch it up and seal it off. Basically it's just steady decreases. Some rows you're basically just putting a single crochet into one shell, and then skipping over to the next shell and single crochet in there, so you're basically pulling the shells together. Like I said, there were some variations, but that's the main gist. So it's basically a single crochet 2 together in the top of each shell. Basically that's the main part of the pattern. Like I say, there are some slight variations, but there is a tutorial, so I'm not going to get too finicky in that. So you then stitch up your end, and then for the tail I've kept the pattern repeat as much as I possibly could. So I started this end, and basically start with the chain. You work in double crochets in the first section, and then you work backwards and forwards. So one end does have, so this end here actually is a straight edge to start with, and then on this end you are double crocheting 2 together. That's US terminology, or 2 trebles together if you're in the UK, on the beginning of each row, and then you just normal double crochet all the way down, basically to get to this point. Then when you get to this row, instead of decreasing, you'll put in 2 double crochets in the final stitch on the end of each row. Now I did discover on the tutorial, because I did use the tutorial a little bit just to make sure I was understanding the information right, on the tutorial on one of the rows, I can't remember if it was this one or this one, she actually told you to put 2 double crochet in one stitch and 2 double crochet in another. That's not actually what the pattern tells you, so it really is personal preference what you choose to do. I went by the pattern, but that's just personal choice. But basically it's 2 double crochet in the end of each row, and the rest of it is just normal double crochets right down to the bottom, and you keep going backwards and forwards, and then basically you just single crochet all the way round. Obviously you have to find your ends, so basically wherever your hook will go, so I've put it in each end gap there and around a stitch, double crochet stitch in the end of each row, and then you've done the same up here, and then basically you have 3 rows of decreases, which is what all this green is here. It's a bit hard to show you properly, but there's basically a lot of double crochet 2 together in UK terms, or single crochet 2 together in US terms, and then there's one row where there's single crochet 2 together, single crochet, do 1 single crochet in the next stitch, single crochet 2 together, 1 single crochet, or double crochet if you're in the UK, and then the last row is single crochet 2 together all the way along, and that's single crochet, double crochet 2 together if you're in the UK, and that's it. And that basically pulls the tail inwards like that, and sort of makes it sort of ripple, and then it's just a case of stitching it onto the blanket. Now she did give you a couple of options in the tutorial, so you could fold your tail so that it looks like that as you stitch it on, or you can do it like me where I've just stitched it on. I actually attached the tail to the body with some stitch markers at each end in the middle, just to anchor it so it didn't move about, and I just whip stitched it, and that's it. So it's actually a very simple pattern. So if you can read patterns, you should be able to do this. It's not difficult. Like I said, there is a tutorial, so if you even if you can't read patterns, there is a tutorial. The tutorial does the medium size, so that's the adult size for 5 to 6 feet tall, but basically it's all the same, it's just the row number that will change. So when I was doing the decreases, I did use the tutorial as a guide. I didn't really need it, but I just kind of had it there as a safety net, and yeah, it was really really easy to use. So it's just the row number that was different for the decrease, but the decrease is the same for all sizes, so you can still use the tutorial even if you want to do a smaller size. So that's how mine's come out. I am really pleased with it. The reason I went for the colours I did, I just thought it kind of reminded me of the beach, you know. yellow for the sand and blues and greens for the water. Not that the water near where I live is that colour. If you live in Suffolk, you'll know. The water where I am tends to be a murky brown colour. We don't have pretty water. We're not like Cornwall where it's lovely and blue. Yes, so I've gone for more abroad colours as far as the sea is concerned, but I've sort of gone for seasidey colours, so yellows and blues and greens I thought would work. And then it doesn't really matter if it's going to a boy or a girl because it's still mermaidy. So that will be going off to Woolly Hugs for the refugee project. If you haven't come across Woolly Hugs, it's a charity based here in the UK. They have lots of different projects on the go, so I tend to do most of my stuff for the refugee project because you can use any type of yarn. Some projects do specify specific yarn, usually Stylecraft Special DK, which is a cheap acrylic here in the UK, and I do think you can get it in America as well. And yeah, so I'm going to put the links for Woolly Hugs website and Facebook group down in the description, so if you haven't come across them, that's where you can find them, and you can read up on all the different projects, because what floats my boat might not float your boat, but there's lots of different projects that they do. So that will be going off to that. So that's it for the craft bit. Sorry it was a bit of a longer one today, but obviously there was a bit more to the mermaid tail than expected, but hey, I got it finished. Woo! I didn't think I would, but I did. So the next video, I've started working on a hat. It's going to be a child's hat. It's going to be a little penguin. So I'm hoping it's going to come out as good as it looks in the pattern. So fingers crossed. So hopefully that should be the next video. As far as life update goes, very good news. I should have got my refund. I've gone back in the shop today. They've done the refund, so I've just got to wait for it to show up in my bank account. So it's only taken 2 weeks to sort out, but we got there. So very pleased about that. Obviously, it's a huge relief, especially at this time of year. We had a visitor, not in our home, but outside on one of the rooftops. We actually spotted a heron a few days ago. I'm sure most of you know what heron is, but it is an absolutely massive bird. I'm guessing it was probably looking for some fish ponds in the area to go fishing, but did get some shots of it. They are a little bit grainy, and our windows aren't the cleanest because the landlord never did clean the window after all the scaffolding was done, even though they promised they would. So it's a little bit hard taking a shot out the window, but I will tag that onto the end of the video, so I thought that'd be something interesting you guys might like to see. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think that's everything. If you're wondering why I'm not talking about my health problems, to be honest, same old, same old. I do have an appointment to see a consultant coming up before the end of the year, so once I know more I will obviously be able to fill you guys in, but at the moment there's really not anything to tell you. It's pretty boring. Still struggling with tiredness a bit, so I just want to sort of say apologise to Donna because it took me a little while to get back to you and the last message. Hopefully you've got that by now, and also to Karen in America. I've been so tired, I just haven't been able to concentrate to reply, but I promise that I will reply to you soon. I haven't forgotten. Yeah, so I just want to say thank you everybody for sharing your photographs of the things that you bought with the Every Fight Thing £5 website. That's been really lovely to see. So I'm really glad that you guys have benefited from it as well. It's actually made me glad that I've actually done that video now, so that's been really lovely to see. So next video, like I said, will be the penguin hat. I'm thinking about starting to do the sort of Christmassy stuff maybe the beginning of next week. What do you guys think? Do you want to start seeing Christmas stuff, even though I know it'll be late November, but I'm just thinking because we don't get a full 4 weeks before Christmas, do we, in December? So I was just thinking maybe I might start the Christmas stuff next week. Just let me know what you think, if that's something that you would like sooner rather than later. Yeah, so I still haven't got any presents. I've got 1 or 2, but nothing major. Need to sit down and write a big list. my next job. And I just want to, I'm just thinking, will I do a video? I'm going to say it early. I just want to wish, I'm trying to think if I'll be doing a video on the day of her birthday, which I think I will, so I may end up saying this twice, so sorry if I do, but I just want to say happy birthday to Jan for the weekend. I do hope you have a lovely day. Yeah, so that's basically it. Not a lot else to tell you. We do have some appointments coming up this week, so it's going to be a bit of a busy week, so I may be a bit tired by the next time you see me, as I've got quite a bit of driving to do this week. But yeah, I think that's it. So I'm going to sign off here, I think. So until next time, stay well, happy crafting, and until next time, remember to stay true to yourself. Bye.